Right. Got it.
Nice one.
Right. Got it.
Let your moving structure training into the lap. Hands back. Hands in now. Up and down. Swinging side to side. Hips in circles. And the other way. Knees out in circles. Knees in. Feet shoulder width apart, bending forwards at the waist. And back, supporting the lower back. And ich, ni, san, hi, go, look, shich, hat, kyu, two. And we're bending forwards again, this time reaching up to your right foot. And your left foot. And again, right foot, this time bringing your right hand up. And swapping around, left hand up. And swapping in your own time. Going forwards again. Putting your hands onto the floor, walking your hands forwards. Downward dog. Open plank. Slowly lower down to the floor. Head and chest up. And then coming back. Downward dog again. And we'll do a few more. Eight. And eight. Cool. Good, and walking your hands back towards your feet. And then slowly rolling up your spine, one vertebrae at a time. Putting your foot in behind you, keep your knees parallel, bring your hips forward. And then kicking your lifted leg back. Other side. Kick your lifted leg back. Hug your knee to your chest. Hips up. And stretch out, other side. Open your hips up. Stretch out. Great. Iris, I bet you missed the planks. Very excited. Ready? No change, same as usual. And out of it. Onto your elbows. Side plank. One side. And reverse plank. Halfway there. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. On your back, hold. And onto your front. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Done. And back into child's pose. Stretching out your shoulders. And standing back up. Sounds like someone's ringing your doorbell nearby. It's really annoying. Taiso arimasu.
Right. Got it. And on then. So, Kihon or Hajimas. Right.
Nada.
Excellent. From Kaisoku to Dangamai Kamaite. Okay, so drop your hands. Kaisoku is the horse riding stance. And if on this occasion we drop our hands, as it's us and we're both white belts, we're all three of us white belts now. Let's have a think about our hips, right? We are Shakira or Iris, you are on that pole. And what we need to do is we want to push this hip into the center line. So we just kind of go bang. Exactly. And the other way. Bang. And the other way. Ich. Ni. San. Chi. Go. R. Sish. Hudge. Q. U. Okay, excellent. You should find that your arms fling, and so what you want to do is relax your arms and then just fling them through. So just to follow, so like that. And you should make it fling as much as you can. Your hips should be doing all the work and your arms should be flinging, and you should be able to just leave it loose. So let's try that. Pushing your migi hip first. Ich, ni, san, chi, wo, ru, sish, hudge, q, u. Excellent stuff. So you could loosen up way more, okay? And that will come with seiho. So if you have the opportunity to give yourself to another kenshi and they're able to do seiho on you, get them to just relax your body and say, right, okay, like I've let loose. At the moment I can see that you guys are getting to here and then tensing and holding back. And then the next thing to think about is what happens with your knees, okay? So you don't want to go that way. You want your knee to simply go here, but you want your hip to go here. So your knees stay forward, but your hip to the top of your body moves, but the bottom of your body goes into the floor. So effectively, Iris, you've been doing this for a long time, the energy goes through the weight of the balls of your feet while your torso moves forward. Make sense? Probably not. So it comes with practice, but the weight, your weight goes into the floor while you're trying to move your torso forward. Okay, let's try that. That's enough talking from me, from Miggy. Ich, ni, san, shi, go, rook, sish, hudge, q, u. Excellent. Keep that form, keep thinking about what we've been doing, and now from here, rather than flinging your arms forward, fling it that way. Okay, so actually a little bit of energy to fling it to the face. From Miggy. Ich, ni, san, shi, go, rook, sish. Don't hold it, Iris. Make it really loose. Hudge. Q. Ju. Excellent. Good. So you can both afford to be freer. You can both afford to. You're still holding tension in your body. So you're not really loosening up with the top of your body in a sort of full-on dance move. There's quite a lot of tension here. You're slowing it down. It may just be the camera angles, but to me, it looks like it can be looser. So now let's put this together. Your arms can either be on your side or loosely in stance. We can be in Tai Chi stance or loosely here. But from here, I want you to really think about meiuchiing. So flick to the eyes, not a punch, flick to the eyes. From Miggy. Ich, ni, san, shi, go, rook, sish, hudge, q, Ju. All of the movement, I can feel it just in my hip. Yeah, sometimes it feels like I'm dropping my weight. My knees are dropping as well. That's something I can feel. But like the story I was telling you about those dancers in Saint Martinique, you should isolate this whole movement to these hips. Okay. This time, rest your hands very lightly, either open fist or, but not clenched, not clenched. Just loose fist, even looser is fine. Resting on your torso, on your ribs, and from Migi, Ken, Kara. Same thing. Ich, Ni, San, Shi, Go, Rook, Dish, Hudge, Q. Excellent stuff. Remember, Sally, that the person is in front of you and you're trying to hit them. So on a camera screen, you can afford to keep looking forward while you hit them. And that will make that fall easier. In real life, look your opponent in the eyes all the way through. Just keep eye contact. Normally that's enough to freak them out. Certainly in my case, anyone looking into my face runs away quite quickly. So that's enough of that. We are looking at Sokto Geri. So Sokto Geri from Kaisoku. We tried this, Dan tried this the other day. So you come to the center or you come out to the side. But what I want to see is up, pivot. Okay, 10 of those. From Migi. Ich. Nice. Ni. San. Go. Rook. Fish. Hudge. Q. U. Excellent. So what we want to see with Sokto Geri is a few things. There are a few home truths about it. First of all, whichever way you're doing it, whether you're coming back, up, across, the idea is that this foot is going in, the blade of your foot is going into that other human being, like so, right? But the thing is, it is the sort of hard bit of your foot. That's kind of what's important. The other point is it's horizontal. So I don't care where it starts, but here it needs to go sideways out, in and down again. So it pushes from wherever you're doing it into the body, straight through. Those are the core things of a Kempo kick, of a Kempo Sokto Geri. Now there are lots of little variations that we start putting in, but those are the two things. For you, Sammy, because you're not used to it, and also we've talked about both of you have issues around kicking high. And so do I, by the way. I had surgery on this side, so I also have similar issues. The real key for me is obviously if you can't get horizontal, it's actually my bad leg, if you can't get, you still want to be able to, whatever you do, you want to be able to bounce back onto the ground. It is very, very common, I did it for years, to push off and then fall off across. Very common. So I think if there's anything I want you to take away from this lesson is making sure that we don't let you fall after kicking. So from Kaisoku to Chudangabai. Then we're going to try picking up our knee and hitting out to the side. So if you need to be a different angle to the camera, that's absolutely fine. And we'll do it, I haven't got space, so we'll do 5 on the right hand side and then 5 on the left hand side so we can readjust. So, so from Migi, ich, ni, san. If it's painful, go lower. but make sure it's straight. Okay? San, sheep. Go. Rook. Sish. I said 5 and I've gone to Sish. Hudge. And that's mainly because I could see improvements as you were going through, Sammy. I can't see Iris, so I'm not going to pick on her just yet, but I will do. I will do. I can see it's painful, so if you want to, is it particularly painful in a spot that we can look at? Is it inner thigh, outer thigh? Inner thigh, okay. So there are some of the stretches that we were doing today that we'll look at, but it means that you don't want to, if you're extending your thigh that way, then the inner thigh, then you probably just want to go down. What I want to see, however, regardless of what height you hit, you want it to be next to your body. So if I say, this is my foot, where are we? Yeah, that's my foot. That's the top of my foot. It's here. I want to be able to pick up that and hit it sideways. Okay? You don't want to, this is what it looks like to me, you don't want it behind you, because that is definitely going to help hurt this part of your body. And it certainly hurts mine, because as I said, surgery, catheter went in here. You can just about get away from coming forward. So if you can't figure out how to go horizontal next to you, then you can, what you can do is come up, slightly think about where your foot goes and hit it forward. Does that make sense? But while you're hitting backwards, it's going to hurt. And isn't going to help you, because no one's going to want to be kicked from behind. If someone's behind you, elbow them. Right. Other side. From left-hand side, from Hadabi. Ich. Knee. San. Chi. Go. Rook. So much better, Sammy, and looks good, Iris. Sammy, you can afford to cover your torso, and that will give you just that tiny amount of more balance. Don't let it screw you up, because you're doing great. Sish, Hudge. Q. Q. Superb, Kesh, Shinkle, Q. Any questions about those kicks?
I have one question.
Yeah.
So you said when we're in Kaisuku, the elbow should rest sort of on this point, right?
Yeah.
But for me, if I wanted to rest to really touch my body, then I have to sort of squeeze and tense. So should I tense a bit, or should I rather relax?
I wonder if that's because we're all women here. I have a pear-shaped body, so my hips come out here, and therefore when I rest my elbows, it's on my bottom of my rib cage. Sensei Ophelia the other day said that it's perfectly acceptable to have a tennis ball width out, which is more your natural form. And I'm wondering if maybe body shape means that that's okay. Why do I want it here? Why do I want it here? I can tell you why I want it here. It's because when I do a punch, I'm going to push with my ribs. My ribs are going to then push into my elbow, and that gives me all the power. Bang, like so. If I have my shoulders here, my hips move, and it feels like this has to do more work to get there. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So I also noticed if I don't have it close to my body and then I push with my hip, then I have a tendency to, then this has a tendency to just stay in place, and then I move it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I find. So and we can try it. Let's try it. So let's put our arms here and try that exercise again. So just 5. Ich. It sort of feels less. Knee. San. Well, I can make it work. Sheep. There's a lot of tension here. Sheep. Go. Then obviously if we bring it in and just do 3, ich. It feels like I'm moving all together, for me anyway. Ni. San. Sammy, think about your shoulders as well, right? So for you, you're overreaching, and rightly so, because that's kind of Ophelia's form. She's here. It looks incredible. I mean, look at this. This is Ophelia's form. Look how gorgeous that is. And it's like fist in place, and then fist in place. I mean, that looks properly martial artist. It's rubbish in a fight for me. You know, if I'm in a fight, I want to be here. I want to be really small, or here. The thing that Ophelia and I have in common is our shoulders are not over, and that's the thing I wanted to say to you. Don't move your shoulders across. Haraxagari to Miggy. Shudango Mike Maite. I said Miggy and then went into her diary because it's Sunday evening. So from Miggy, same thing. We're going to do Gyaku Zuki. Okay, do the count. Ich. Ni. San. Chi. Go. Brook. Sich. Punch. Q. Ju. Raxagari to Miggy. Chudanga Mike Naite. Looking really good, but you're not keeping eye contact with your imaginary opponent. Ideally, you should be staring into the camera, really fierce, scaring yourself. The other thing is, don't let this elbow come up. Don't let this come through like so. Make sure it's going from this least trajectory whatsoever, least effort whatsoever, from your body straight through. Okay? To the count. Ich. Ni. San. Shi. Go. Rook. Sich. Hudge. Q. Juke. That's good. We'll do 2 strikes next. Think about whether you want to look like a boxer and really tense, so your fists are up here, or whether you want to look like a Kempo demo person, you know, one of these people who goes around the world doing demos. Then you want your fists to be out here and really relaxed. Or if you just want to be like me, down the pub continually, just minding my own business. I just want to be really loose, okay? So think about that. I'm okay if it's up here. Don't hunch your shoulders. So next exercise, Jun Zuki, Gyaku Zuki, Jochu. If you've got the space, take a step. Do the count. Ich. Ni. San. Shi. Go. Rook. Sich. Hudge. Q. Ju. Looking pretty good, but we can make that look a lot sexier. So as you come in and step, your first punch is delivered, and your shoulders should be, if you can exaggerate it and be on a vertical, that would be amazing. Okay, like so. And then you rotate your full shoulders to be the other side. The more you can make that rotation, the sexier it would look on television. So bang, bang. Obviously in the self-defense situation, you're probably going much closer because it's much faster. But we're not doing that. We're doing this to look fairly epic. So, full shoulder turns. So what we should do is come in, then this hand, this back hand at this point, sorry, this front hand at this point covers, and then you come into stance. That's the full movement. Did we change sides? Yes. Okay. From same thing. Jochu with a cover. Ich. Excellent. Ni. San. Chi. Go. Rook. Siege. Punch. Q. Q. Alright, so Gary, to Miggy, Q down the bike, my turn. What I should have said is to make this look like a Kempo, epic Kempo movement, you should go jaw, chew, and as you're coming back, you should cover. I feel like I spent the first 3 years of my Kempo career just doing that movement, and it seems to have been lost in time. You can do this, just slower. From Miggy, chew down the line. To the count. Ich. Ni. San. She. Reset your feet. Jump. Good. Lost my counts. So for sheesh. Hudge. Q. You. Cash and call Q. Looks good, looks good. Could be better.
From Hidari, Junanga, my we're going to do a Gyaku Zuki to draw that. Then come back. Each. This is a backhand to the head. Eat. That. Eat. Walk. Look. Eat. That's. Two. Good. We'll flip over to the other side. Make sure that your target is in front of you. You're not punching over here, nor are you punching over there. At the moment, they're right ahead of you. Straight down the line. From the other, Hirakusagai to Miki Chudanga. Come on. Then take backhand. Ich. Ni. Up. Chi. Go. Up. Ich. Up. Good. This is the attack that is coming in towards us. And we are, as Aiden was asking, we're now quite close quarters. We've already probably done a few attacks and a few blocks. Their face is right there. I can't do one of my lovely Uchukes or my Sotokes that we were practicing yesterday. There's no time for that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop down a little bit. I'm going to drop down fist width so that I'm just my head length, so that I'm just below the punch. And as I'm doing that, this front arm is going to cover. So it's doing the counter motion. It's coming up above your head. And this is very much, oh shit, something's coming in my face. So we'll just do that, dropping down and bringing this up. Make sure you're not doing this. You're not trying to punch it or anything. You're just bringing your arm up, using this outside bit of your arm to cover. And so it has to sort of think of going down and elevate. You want that kind of action. And with your legs, you're not squatting, you're just dropping. You want you to take all the energy out of your legs for about half a second. Like that. So you go down. And then you can stand back up again, really, after you're done. Because then after that, they've probably finished, and then you're going in for a punch anyway. So just the block. Ichi. Ni. San. Chi. Go. Hoku. Chichi. Hachi. Kyu. Ju. Grab the arms to the other side. There are some different styles to this. Some people have their arms square on, like me. Others will have their arm turned more forward, lead with their elbow a little bit. Either is correct in my book.
I agree with you. I was just thinking, my natural form is slightly different, as always, to Ophelia's. This bit of your arm should be covering, so that bit should be covering the bit that, as the punch came in. The other thing to think about is how far you want to drop. You can, as some of you are doing, drop all the way down, but then I'm an old woman and I have to get back up and punch them and attack them, and it doesn't sound good. I only actually need to drop as far as they were coming in, so that they bounce off that arm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay, doing that from the other side, same thing. Ichi. Ni. San. Chi. Go. Hoku. Chichi. Hachi. Kyu.
Yeah, much better.
Yes, grab a drink of water. Now there's, as always, you can counter this with a block, or with a punch, or you can counter it with a kick. What do you all prefer? Dan, you don't count because you know what these techniques actually are. What would you guys prefer to do, a kick or a punch? Punch? Okay,
If we're dropping,
one person has spoken and they've said punch, so punch it in. Back to Hidai Churagawa. We were just doing this with our front hand. What we're actually going to do is we're going to do the same thing, but with our backhand instead. So there's going to be a bit of a twist. Make sure that your hips, when you're doing this, from here, your hips are going to move forward just a little bit, enough so that your back shoulder can come forward and cover. We'll do just a few of those, and then we'll go straight into with the punch. Each. This time your backhand is going to be blocking. So you need to bring your back hip, your back shoulder forwards, block up with your back arm. Yeah. Ni. San. Chi. Good. I don't want this block to come past your face. So I don't want, as you're twisting now, it's easy to do this. And what you'll notice if I'm doing this, it's not actually passing my face at any point. My face is the bit I'm protecting. And the easiest way to protect it is to actually make sure I'm passing it. So that wherever on my face they were aiming for, I don't have to look for it. I know I will have got it, provided their target was accurate. And if their target was off, then I was safe anyway, right? So we'll do that. Two more. San. Chi. Okay, good. Now with the punch, what you're going to do, this drop that we were just doing, and now you're going to notice that you're all twisted up, you're ready to go. So you're just going to unwind and punch in. And with this, I suspect that the Hoke version is to leave your arm on your head. Hand on your head like that. That is definitely the kata version for it. That's the original would be, you see it in the katas, actually like leaving their fist on their head. So in Tenshin Daini, they go And then you sit there with your hand on your head, which looks really funny. That's one way of doing it, but also I am not against you deciding that I am done with this arm now and bringing it back down again. Provided your head is safe, then what you do with your arm isn't very important. If you leave it up, or if you leave it down. Whatever makes sense in the situation you're in. Because Sammy, I don't think you're going to be needing to block your head by the time you're punching anyone. Unless that would be a very scary person, because they'd be very tall. So we'll do a couple to the count. Block with your back arm, punching with the front. Eat. Eat. Tap. Eat. Go. Look. Eat. That's good. 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 We're going to do a few more on this side. I'm going to say this, anyone whose hips I can see, you should be moving your hips more. So I want to see the force, especially of the punch, coming from the hips. So as you bound that, and that means that this as you're blocking, your hip coming forwards a little bit is very important, because it's pulling this hip back so that you can charge it forwards afterwards. So what my hips are doing from here, as I'm blocking, my hips are squaring out a bit, and then punch. Always leading with that hip. So we're doing another 5 on this side, maybe 10, depending how we feel, and then we'll go on to the other side. Anything to add before we go? No. Eat. Eat. Stop. Eat. Go. Look. Eat. Let's. Eat. Okay, to the other side. Same thing again. Remember that your counter punch is probably to the body, probably a low punch. Keep it nice and low. Right. Also, because you are probably quite far down, so it makes sense for you to be attacking. Another 10, and then we'll see how we're going. Each. Eat. Stop. Eat. Go. Go. Eat. What? Eat. Okay. Make sure you're blocking with your arm, not your hand. So it looks like currently when you're at the point of block, it's because they're attacking your face. If you're doing this, very close, but you're actually now blocking with your fist, which is dependent on if they're attacking this jaw, then I've missed. I'm not protecting it. So make sure that it's your arm that's protecting your head. You've got it all the way over. Okay. Rest of you looked okay, I think. A bit laggy today, so I can't see what everyone's doing. We'll do another 10. On the same side. Eat. Eat. Thump. Eat. Walk. Look. Eat.
May I, Ophelia?
Yes, absolutely.
So for you, all of you, it all looks good. Your movement all looks good. If you need to adjust and manage the space, but obviously that's quite difficult with just us. Dan's got a giant room, so he can afford to sort of move forward with his squat and take out that person. But for most of us, this is a self-defense. You asked about close quarters, Aidan. And in a self-defense situation, most people put up their hands and they protect themselves like this. This is the same thing. This is actually a stance and a gamai that you could attack. If you think someone's, if someone's attacking you, you don't want to hit back, you might be in this situation. And that's kind of where I think you want your hands as well, to go back. So if you come up, you might want to attack eventually. In order to do that, you need to keep eye contact. If Ophelia's coming in, bang, 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 and we're that close, I need to be able to see her. If I close off, I won't be able to do it. And that's true for all of the other techniques that you've got. So some of you are out here, like Sensei Ophelia was saying, you don't want that much gap. You really want to be much, much tighter. My preferred sense is that now that I have a little bit of arm muscle, thanks to that rotation, plank rotation, I almost want to have, what I learned was that you almost want to have your head inside that crook. That's kind of how I had learned it very early on. When, as Aidan, you were asking, you're in close quarters, a domestic violence situation. You want this really protecting your head, right? You should be able to attack from there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Felix.
Yeah, use that. What we've been doing so far, we've been making it quite big. So there's still quite a lot of, you see between here, there's quite a lot of air going on around. Let's take it a bit close quarters. So now we're doing the same technique we were just doing, the same movement we were just doing. But now as you're blocking, you're shoving your head into your elbow essentially, or into the bend in your arm. So you're actually ducking in, and you have a couple of options for how to see through this. One, look underneath, and now you see this is where we get more into sort of Kavita style, because from here, because this is now very close, I'm looking in underneath the arm, and I've probably only got one eye on it. What I found, because I have quite skinny arms, is I can actually look between. I can look on either side. If I do this, I actually have enough view because I can still see my opponent's shoulders from here. Meaning I can still keep an eye on what my opponent's doing if I'm only doing this for a split second. That doesn't get in the way. So that's also an option, to actually have that right down the center. Kind of like looking at someone like this. So we'll try and keep it a little bit close. Now you imagine you're very close, and you're going to bring this into your body, either on the side, in this sort of covering position, or just shoving your arm in here. Maybe you're covering one eye, but the other eye can still see. And then from there, punching again, like we were just doing. So this is now, imagine, the attack is already in. No time to prep. Doesn't now. Hit. Knee. Make this a bit more realistic. I know you guys, when I really called out by me not continuing to count. I want you to wait, and I'm going to give you a really irregular count. And I want you to wait until you hear the count. And the moment you hear the count is the moment that this is about to hit your face. Huh? You. Oh. Nope. But. like you're very sluggish, especially when you're doing it to a count, because a count isn't quite the same as a punch coming into your face. It's definitely brings out a different reaction in you, I think. So that's part of the reason why we do count. We're always supposed to wait for the count. We never do in these online lessons because it would take forever. Which doesn't make sense with lag and the time it takes me to count, and then you just hear it, and then you to that video to come back to me, out the window. Swapping sides to the other side. Same thing. First quarter. Now, as you hear the count, it's probably when they're probably the split second before they're about to hit you in the face. So nice and close, either on the side of your head or over the top of your head in the diagonal. And then press. And we can add some Rahenko at the end as well. They'll pummel them afterwards.
Yes.
Each. Eat. No. Eat. No. No. Eat. Yes. Deep breath.
I have a sensei question for you.
Yes.
So obviously when we were randoring yesterday, we were doing this at quite close quarters, so you were attacking as you were coming into my head. And then you started grabbing.
Yeah.
And obviously this is a classic domestic violence, straight to the head, go for a choke.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any advice on protecting yourself from that sort of build-up of any thoughts? I.e., what would your classic Renhanko be? Let me make that question more clear.
So my Renhanko tends always ending kicks. And I think that's partly because I'm used to my opponent running away faster than I can keep up with them.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that in my style as well, because that's how I like to run away. It means I'm used to my opponent kind of going away from me, and so I'm going from very close to far to very far.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's also, in terms of preventing someone from grabbing you, trying to keep that distance. Then if they are an arm's width away from you, they are far less likely to be able to grab you than if they're already, if they've essentially got in for a proper tumble where they're on top of you, which is usually the situation that you and I end up with.
Yeah.
Because you stand your ground, which is a good thing, but then it makes you more likely, it makes you grabbable because you're that close.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't necessarily like always go for grabbing people, but I find with you is it just makes more sense because you're so close.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering with this, you know, you come in really close. If you were in a really proper defense situation, you go in close, punch, do this properly like boxing style. But the thing is, there is that classic technique, you might want to do it next, which is kick, block kick. But it feels like that would be the only one I'd have such close quarters in this situation.
Well, we're at 22 now. Next time.
You can do it tomorrow.
Yeah. Definitely doing some knee blocks. So we shall start with that then. From Hidari, ichi ga maikaite. So with your right foot forward. What this is you're now coming in, someone's coming in with a low attack, a kinteki, like we're just doing a kick. And you're going to cover this. And you're going to cover it with your shin, essentially, with the side of your shin, the soft part of your shin, not the bony bit of your shin, because that is painful. I have done it. So what we're going to do is essentially going to come on, wait, onto our back leg. This leg is going to come up. You can't see because I'm wearing really baggy trousers today. I'm going to come up, bring this leg across to cover up this target, to discourage them, really. We can think of it as discouraging for now. I am doing something with my foot, Dan, but I want you to think about. The rest of the other two, you don't really need to worry about this, but I want you to make sure that when you're doing this, you're twisting your foot in. So you're sort of angling the flat of your foot in towards your leg, and this aligns all of these soft bits here along the side of your leg, because this bit in the middle here is really hard, and this is really soft. So this is what I want to block with. And to get that in the right position from here, you want to make sure that your foot is not hanging loose down, but is actually angled inwards a little bit. And your knee has to point sideways, obviously. If you're doing that, you're not getting anything done. The rest of you, just worry about getting your leg in front of the target and getting your thigh in front of the target, so that the target, which used to be facing that way, is now facing this way. So that's the appealing place to attack, because your attacker is here. So we'll just do that for a start. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi, kyu, ju. Good, now we're going to add a counter to this. And the counter is, annoyingly, going to be with the exact same leg, which is going to be really confusing. So what we're going to do, is you're going to bring your leg in to cover, and when you've done cover it, when you've gone, okay, I've covered enough now, without putting this leg down, because it's up from here, you're just going to come straight in with the kinteki back, and then put your foot down. So in one movement, you've got to cover, kick, then back. To the count. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi, kyu, ju. And here I go to the other side. Same thing again. This time from the other leg, we'll start with just the block, just the cover. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi, kyu, ju. And now this time, I'm going to bring my trousers up so you can see what my legs are doing. Next 10, we're going to do with the counter. So as you come across, cover, block, and then kick. Ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi, kyu, ju. Yes. Shinkoku. Any questions? perfect timing because I was just about to explain what we're doing. Alex, do you remember Hiza Uke?
No.
Hiza Uke is this block. Blocking with your leg and then kicking.
Okay.
You're all put up. Now on to Kinuku, which is what we were about to do. So your leg, as someone's coming in for Kinteki, you're going to cover with your leg, with your with this knee. Bring this knee across so that there's no longer a Kinteki target to go for. That's Hiza Uke. That's what your legs are doing. To make it Kenuke, which is on my syllabus, we are going to cover. We're going to cover with this hand. So now we're quite low. As you can see, before I was just standing upright. Now I'm going to drop lower. I'm going to cover with this hand. In case they go for something up here or higher, I'm ready. And then this backhand, very sneakily, as they're attacking here, I'm just going to leave that there in a fist, so that if they were to reach the target, they would kick my fist instead. And it would hurt them far more than it would hurt me. So what I want you to think about, if it's really hard, just do the leg and the cover. Don't worry too much about the other fist. But if you want to, from here when you've covered with this knee, put that across, covering with this hand, and just let this hand, let your thigh guide this hand down. So it's just sort of aligned with your arm, with your leg, and punching the floor essentially, punching towards the floor. And then hopefully you'll hit someone on the top of the foot and it'll hurt them lots. So we'll do that a couple of times slowly to the count, see if anyone's got any questions. From Hidari is what I win, yes. Each, across, punch. So do it sideways so you can see. Knee. Stand, coming knee across, cover, punch. So you're coming, your weight's nice and low, and you're going to shift onto your back leg. Your knee is going to come across. So because you're going for Kinteki, the first thing you want to do is cover Kinteki with your knees.
Are you moving back or forwards? Because I'm confused by your camera.
Back.
Okay, cool.
That's forwards. That's forward there. Now I'm facing sideways.
Ah, okay. That's what confused me. Sorry, it's been a long day.
Back this way. I thought you could see more if I did it sideways.
Ah, okay. I'm sure it's better for everyone now. Sorry.
Okay, so I'll do it sideways. That's my front. Where we're at. Chi, maybe? Moving across. Chi. Ho. Look. Hit. Touch. Two. Two. And you're scary to the other side. Same thing again. Any questions before we do the same thing on the other side? No? Okay. Each. Knee. Up. Chi. Ho. Up. Hit. Two. Good. Don't worry if this is really weird. For one, you are in a bit of a ballet stance for this. That's natural. Try and keep your back as straight as you can. But we're done with that technique now. You will see it again in about 4 to 5 years.
From Hidari, Chiji Kamai Kamaite. Okay, so yesterday we were doing Gyaku Uwa Uke. So we're coming in, but I'm in frame, we were coming through. And Sensei Ophelia gave us 2 ways of doing this. You move your hips so that you're square and do a little one that's just over your head. It still gives you this little line. Or you do the more classical form, which is your entire torso comes over your front knee. And then you come across. Okay? So this is the one we're going to look at. And we're going to look at this in minute detail. So the way I think about it, the way I think about all techniques, is I always think about hips and knees. So as you can see here, my knee, if I look down, and I want you to be in stance and looking down, I can see my beautifully nail polished toes. Can you see that?
I can see a foot.
Sorry?
A foot. Can't see the other foot much.
Well, I mean your front foot. On your front foot, can you see your toes?
Yes.
Good. Okay. Now, push your knee forward so you no longer can see your toes. What does that do to your back leg? Iris, what does that do to your back leg?
It straightens.
It straightens it. So if you look at a sensei alid form, his back, when he's punching full tilt, Gyaku Zuki, this tends to be quite elongated. Mine tends to be quite forward, but his tends to be quite elongated. If he's doing Tenshin Ken, then it's here, and this is almost straight. I can't even show you how straight it is. This is really straight, okay? So that's the form that we're looking for when we go into Gyaku. So let's do 10 of those. I want you to concentrate on making sure that you no longer can see your toes as you cover. And that's what I want you to concentrate on. Okay, so we'll do it slowly and then you can check. Ich, check. Back. Knee. San. Shi. Go. Rook. Sish. Hudge. Q. Ju. So what's really interesting is that I have the feeling that I'm going forward, but I wanted to, when I'm watching Ophelia and myself, we look like we're going sideways. I'm actually going, my body is going forward. I exaggerated it through. My body is going that much forward, just from that knee, right? I noticed yesterday that I needed to take a step. So somewhere here I was doing step, block, attack. You shouldn't need to that. You should be able to elongate it quite a lot. I feel like Ophelia wants to say something. No, Haraksa Gari too. Migi, Chiji Gobai, Same exercise to the count. Ich. Knee. San. Shi. Go. Rook. Sish. Hudge. Q. Ju. Any questions on that?
So do you have any weight on your back foot when you go forward?
Yeah, on this technique I do. It's about 60 or 70% on my front and the rest on my back. What about you, Ophelia?
Same. I think, you know, when you throw a basketball, you have one hand for the force and then one hand for the aim and for the spin. That's kind of what we do, what I'm doing. So I have one leg which is holding my weight, and then this leg is kind of controlling what my hips are doing.
So interesting.
So I'm standing on one and then pushing off with the other in whatever. If I want to push that hip forward, I push that way with this leg. Equally, if I want to go the other way, then I push forward with the same hip, but the other way.
Interesting.
This one is standing.
Does the heel lift off at any point?
Pretty much the whole time for me. I mean, you shouldn't be standing on your heels to begin with.
Yeah, it definitely, just like a Gyaku Gote, in your wake, your heel should be doing almost the same movement. Bang, bang.
Yeah, up there, and then whichever way I go.
Like I said, you can pull it in, but as all of us except Ophelia are Alan students, his preferred form is to keep it really far back. Okay, so now yesterday when Ophelia cut out, what we did was we added a punch to it. So what we did was we came here and went all the way forward, right? And at this point we pulled our, so if you hit, when you hit the top of the frame, you then make this into a punch. And what you do is you pivot even further. So now I've gone forward on my knee, and then what I'm doing is I'm coming even further as I come in. And that is actually when I need my back foot to catch. So when I do it full force, I can't help but move. So everything moves through. Again, a Sensei Ahmed, his form would take you like so. So he would go forward. This is quite far exaggerated, and he almost turns in when he does this. That is not Kempo form at all. Your Kempo form, sorry, your feet should be coming bang, bang. You can see that this is almost still forward. This is horizontal. Anything to add, Ophelia? No. I mean, at this point, bang, bang, you should be able to lift your back. To answer your question, Iris, your natural weapons would be to do a back kick or to keep going with a back punch. This side of the body is what, because this side of the body is loose and not really weighted, that should be the weapons of choice. Make sense? So let's break that down. That's a lot of talking, as per usual from me. So here's from Migi Chiji Gamai Kamaite. So what we're doing is you were going forward on the knee and going forward again. So that's what we're concentrating on. And I'm going to go quite fast. Ich, cover, punch. Knee. San. Shi. Go. Rook. Sish. Punch. Q. Ju. Harasagari to Migi Chijigamai Kamaite. Okay, this time it's looking pretty good to me, so now I want you to get it really snappy. So my preferred form is this snaps, so it comes in. So if you watch Sensei Ophelia, she goes up to the top and comes back down before she starts retracting it. So her natural form is to go like here. My more natural form is to go up, retract it in a punch to pivot through. So it sort of goes up, across, sort of, both are perfectly acceptable. This one will set you up for all the other techniques. If you want that to do like a geri, for example, you want that bounce. This one is much more about moving forward. Okay? Thoughts? Are you muting, unmuting? No? Cool. In that case, Migi, Chiji Gamai, to the count. A last set of 10. Ich. Much better. Knee. San. Shi. Go. Rook. Sish. Punch. Q. Ju. Okay, Shinko Q. Any observations, any thoughts? No, cool, grab some water. Only Ophelia and Dan were waiting for. Let's go to Hidari Chijigamai Kamaite. We're in Chijigamai. What that tells you is we think we're about to be attacked. We're probably going to be attacked somewhere in the mid-riff. And in this case, we're not. We're going to be attacked by someone in the mirror stance with a backhand punch to the head. So, and what we're doing is we're doing kaniashi, which is that we come off the line of attack. So kaniashi, if you want to copy, you're just moving across. If you can do this almost simultaneously with your feet, and kani normally is step, step. So slowly it is 1, 2. But the best practitioners can do this as fast as possible, just falling into it, like so. Well worth practicing on all the surfaces, including the beach, running out of battery, ah, dear, oh dear, including the beach, on pebbles, all that kind of thing. I need to go and get my charger. Ophelia, could you do Tenshin geri really quickly?
Okay. So from what were we in? Migi Chijigamai? Hidari Chijigamai? Hidari Chijigamai, okay. So Tenshin geri, we were doing this the other day. Maybe might have been yesterday, I can't remember. And from stance, you're going to step forwards 45 degrees, cover with your backhand, and kick. So you're coming off the line, the attack coming down towards your head. You're coming off the line, kicking back onto the line.
All right.
So they count. Each. Eat. That. Cheat. Oh. Look. Heads. Two. Two. Before we go on to the other side, I'll hand back on to Kavita. Yesterday we were talking about taking up space. So for this, especially as you step across, you're stepping off the line. Then don't block over here. If you look at this from the side, this is very small. You'll just be way out here. You're taking up lots of space. So as you're coming out, cover big. You're telling them that this here, this is my area. This is my side. You can't come here. This is what you're doing. So be as big as you can. Hirasagari to Migi. Same thing from there. Each. Bigger. Neat. You can be bigger still, I think. San. Chi. Ho. Look. Each. Touch. Good. Good. Yes. And back to Peter's.
Thank you. I'm now charged up. Okay. So, Skiten-san is a technique that I actually remember vividly from my first year of training. There are some techniques that I learned that year, like katate nage, which is on the 3rd dan syllabus. And I only learnt it because my sensei was trying to get his 3rd or 4th dan, I can't remember, 3rd probably. And so I didn't really learn any white belt techniques, I just learned these techniques. And for some reason, we always did Skiten-san as an Hiza Uke, You know what Idezuki means, Iris? No, it means when you're moving up and down the dojo. I don't know what the translation is, but basically it's when you do the technique going up and down. So I don't know how much Dan's got a bit of space, but I can see that but your floor is probably not brilliant. Whereas Iris, I'm not sure how much you've got. But the thing about this technique, you can see everything in my incredibly messy house at the moment, is if you see my feet, skeet and san is 3 strikes. San is 3. That's how I remember. Can't remember what skeets and probably it'll come back to me. Punching 3 times, high, low, I don't know. Anyway, step forward, punch to the head, punch to the body, and then your backwards. And then what you do is you step forward and punch them to the head again. So that's kind of the striking mechanism here. So just for the feet, it is step forward into punching distance, punch, punch, step forward again, punch again. Okay?
How big is that second step forward? Is it a fumikomi-ash or is it a bigger stand?
I would, in single form, on a video call, I would do it to the space you happen to have at the moment. Okay. But in a fight situation, I don't know why you would use this in a fight situation. I think it's more to understand combinations. You would plant yourself where you needed to be, depending on how far they went. And hold that thought, because when we do the defense, you'll see why there's such a variability in that step. So just so we finish this thought, you're stepping forward, you're punching to the head. Ideally, you're punching them in Mizuzuki, so quite low, but obviously you want to make it look better, so go through the head like so. That's the first punch. Second punch is to their body, their hair. Then they take a step, and you're taking a step while you're going forward like this. Step, and then to the head again. My preferred form is to cover, step back, or as I was saying, if you were doing this Idezuki, when you both go to the park tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. and go up and down the park with your good kenchi, then you would just keep going forward at that point, change feet, and then go forward. So let's try that to the count from Migi. Chudang itch, step forward, punch, punch, step forward, punch. Back to stance. Knee. San. Chi. And again, go. Good. I can only see Iris. Iris, I want you to punch those ear. Sorry? I'm not sure what Dan said, but Iris, I want you to punch the air like you really mean it, okay? Bounce it back. So, find more on this side. Migi. Churango by Kaite. Go, rook. Sheesh. Punch. Q. Q. Excellent. Correct, Gary. 2. Migi. Shuranga by Kamaite. Iris, your job is to keep all of that form and start getting faster. Dan, your form is to make sure that you don't go into chicken wings. Okay? Don't bring your elbows up. Make it as straight from your body with as everything else is great. It even looks like you're putting the right weight into it. But your arms, your elbows are coming up. So from Migi, Shudan Kamaite. It. Ni. Ban. She. Go. Looking great. See. Hud. Q. Q. Cash can go Q. Okay, so if you're low energy, what do you do for an attack like that? Well, one thing Sensei Alid does is he doesn't clench his fist. You don't clench your fist, you don't clench your arms, you don't use up energy in your shoulders, and you don't get tense. You can do this super fast with the ichis, right? How do you, the other way you can do this is just to fall. So rather than step, simply just fall into it. And that should, and catch with your back foot, and that should lower the energy that you require for this attack. Okay, because if I'm nothing if not lazy, especially on a Sunday. Training twice on a Sunday, it's like whole 2 hours. So from Migi, Chiji Gamai Kamaite. So someone's punching you to the head, right? And so we're going to go wake. So we're going to pretend that it's a kebab zuki because they're punching us to the head. And then what we do is we move this around. So they're coming to this, and you're really offering this, right? You haven't brought your front foot forward. You're really offering this as a target. And then you close it off, go square, and you go into dancing pose. And then what you're doing is pulling this up and kicking. And those are your hands, and your hands are perfect because we do this all the time. So it's going ich, ni, san, like so, okay? So the question becomes, what do you do with your feet? And this, Dan, is where you can decide how to use your energy. I can't remember if Sensei Alid was talking about this or not today, but my classic form that I've been taught is that you go backward, bang. So this is actually into, sorry, let me do it the other way around. So ideally, and I can't do this at speed, but this is classical. So it comes back, block, comes back, block. As you can see, I want to turn my back foot. I can't. And then what you do is you take this back foot, step it, bring this forward, and kick. That is classical Kempo form. So just to do this without my hands to show you that I can do it, it's like here, take this back, and kick. You will realize if you see me in real life, as soon as I put my hands in, this really messes up and I can't do it. Partly I can't do it because this hip has had surgery and it doesn't turn. Partly it's just physiology. So I tend to do this, back, 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 like so. Sorry, did I do that off camera? So back. Other perfectly acceptable things are to go back on the first one, block, 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 and do everything from really far away. That is also seen as acceptable. Anything else? What else have I missed, Dan? I feel like I'm missing one.
I think there are only 2 ways of doing this that are canonical. Canonical.
Okay, I have seen a few others. My preference is to go Kihon if you can do it. So if you can get that ballet dancer form. If you can't get the ballet dancer form, then go for a stable store, an L shape. Okay. How do you, no, let's do that 5 times on each side and then we'll see what the low energy version is. Okay? So, from Migi, Shijigamai Kamaite. It. Then you put back, block, step back, block, kick. Superb. No more commands. Knee. Stand. Sheep. Go. Excellent. Gari too. Migi. Chijigamai Kamaite. Itch. Knee. Stand. Chi. Go. Okay. I think low energy. I think it would be more important to keep your back straight, Dan. Watching you, your basic coming quite squashy with your torso, and then as it comes down, you're still quite looking down, looking in on yourself. I think if you weren't to hunch, it would soften it. And in single form, you can afford to do this. So be big and big. Sorry, whole different technique. Big and big and big, like so, keeping your back straight. That would take reveal. It's a little bit like Shinkon. You're kind of pushing all of that tension that's in your body. Very Sunday night, push it all out of your body when you're doing this. Okay, so it just flows. Cheats. I said there was other ways, so Dan is right. The 2 ways I've shown you, canonical. I don't know what that word is. That word. Cheats that I have go like this. So the other side. Foot only partially turns. Foot only partially turns. Comes in, block, block. So I'm only here. Now it turns out, block and kick. That's one of my favorite cheats. And I do that if the dojo is really crowded, or if, you know, like us, we're doing this in a tiny space, or you're in an alleyway. So it's sort of really small. And it's all about making the arms look incredible. Okay? What else do I do? The other thing is not to turn at all. So you can come block, block, so you're in this form. And then in order to get into position, you can step back and block. Those are the 2 really fundamental cheats in there. The last cheat, Sensei Ko. He comes back, he blocks, he comes forward, he blocks, and that allows him to step off as far as he needs to. Those are your 3 cheats. One of them will help you reduce the energy required to basically pick up your back foot, which is your standing leg, and move it. I have to admit, when Sensei Alid was doing this today, I felt a surge of energy. I felt like for the first time ever, it just flowed as a defense. And so I don't know what that was due to, but I did feel my body feeling really comfortable with this for the very first time. But like I said, I learned this in my first year of training 17 years ago. Today was the day I felt okay with it. So, should we do 5 more for each side and we'll go on to kicks? From Migi, Chijigamai Kamaite. Itch. Knee. Stand. She. Go. geri kumigi, chichi kamai. And ich. Ni. Dan. Chi. Go. Kesh and Kokyu, any thoughts on that? No? Okay. Right. So, last 3 minutes, we're going to look at Gyaku Gote. Sammy, do you remember Gyaku Gote?
I don't remember the name, sorry.
No? Okay. If Ophelia attacks me, she's attacking me across, and she's grabbing this art hand. Maybe I've got something in it, I don't know, but she's grabbed it, or she wants to pull me and take me to the other side of the room, so she's pulling quite hard. What I do is I stop her by taking a step and miuching and opening my hand, and then I take her to the ground. Yes, we definitely did that yesterday. For everybody, I've been looking at this single form. It turned up on my Pinterest. No, not on my Pinterest. Turned up on my Instagram. And I decided to nick some ideas from some Japanese kenshi. So, if everyone wants to follow, from Migi, Shurangabai. So we're doing Gyaku Gote, single form, and it's called Ryo no Kata. I was going to test someone, but I decided not to. Ryo no Kata. Right. So there's no count, so I'll just walk through. First thing that happens is someone grabs you, so you immediately open your hand. You mai kagiash, so you turn your front foot, you step, and you miuchi them. Cool. You then come and grab this hand, and this is, let's do this the normal way, which is normally I say come and just kind of place your hand on the wrist. And then what you do is you turn it over, one circle, so that's the first circle. Second circle is as you step back, you take it to your hip. Your third circle is you take it down to your other hip, and then you pin their shoulder, you take a step forward and pull their imaginary arm up, and then you kick them, get rid of them, and come back to start. So I think that little step is not something, it's something that I picked up from Sensei Rob on Friday, so I want us to add it in. But the thing that I want to think about today is making this look epic. So what they did was they took this and slowed it down and then put it on Instagram, because everything should be on Instagram until the next social media thing comes along. And what they did was, as they got grabbed, they did the step, they miuch, follow along, and then what they did was they came in with the loser sign onto their wrist, and then they also put this into a loser sign, so this also was in choji. So now they've got choji, right? And then what they did was they turned it, and they turned it quite far in front of them, and in slow-mo, it actually released, so it was like a sort of real epic circle. And then secondly, everything else stayed the same, back to the hip, and now they're quite low, super low. You're in a really wide stance. Take your loser sign, stick it to the ground, take a step up, still both in loser signs, both in shoji, hit them in the head. I still want to do what we should do, which is take this into a fist, into your top hand, still with the loser sign, kick them and take them away. Any questions on that? Too much, probably too much instruction.
Let's try it.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Okay, in your own time, 3 times. Make sure you swap sides. Go. looking pretty good. Make this the last one. Kesh. It's looking really good. What's hilarious to me is that I can see your form in your technique, in your single form. So I know which people that I will scream the loudest on and which people will be like, oh, this is a very gentle, I'll just lie their hair on the floor kind of technique. Things to think about. Here, it's not up and down. This technique has never been sort of up and down. That's, if anyone does a Kuri Gote, that's kind of the stuff that you're using. This is definitely, the plane of angle is here, horizontal. Okay, so you're here and you want to make the circle, maybe in my case, making like a flatbread here, and then making a flatbread here. Now, there is a tweak that Sensei Ophelia does. Do you want to do that? We were just trying it out.
Do what?
There is a tweak that you do. Do you want to show us?
I do.
Yes.
I don't know. What do
Yeah,
I do?
do it. Can you see, as her fingers are pointing, they're pointing downwards. And that's because she's got the feeling in that person's head, in their, oh, how do I describe it? She knows that she's actually trying to direct them to the floor. And she's also looking at the floor as it comes through. So there is a slight tweak here. But if you don't have a sense of where they are, you haven't done this for, is it 2 years, something like that, Aidan? Then what you want to do is do it horizontal, horizontal, horizontal. And if you want to, you can adjust where they are on the ground. But I'll come back to that. Any questions?
A million, but none that can be answered over camera.
Cool. Well, then it's your class on Thursday. Maybe we can do it then. Kihon or Waramas?
Hey. Bye.
So I didn't get much on the psychological. My favorite moment of that was when he suggested, so we will turn this into a Buffy moment, is when he suggested that you could distract someone by telling them that their tax returns were overdue, and sort of basically use verbal retort to get to distract them. And certainly that's a Buffy technique. She's very funny, and she's, you know, very sassy. And obviously we're all Imperial students, so are we. And so it's an important part, I think, of training, especially I think as women role models. It's something we can do. So I thought that was the most fun part of psychological retorts. He did then go on to say that that isn't the best way of getting the person distracted, and he's absolutely right. So we are not shy about talking about our differences in Kempo, right? We are not shy about saying, Sensei Ala does this, and I do this, and there's all these kinds of things. And we have a bunch of we have a bunch of things that have changed. The 8 key attitudes towards training. And that statement has changed. I think it's now the 8 key something towards training. So it's the kind of the way in which you train. So the title may have changed, but the essay that needs to be written for this at 3rd Q, so white, orange, green level. Yes, there are essays to write. I didn't just say that. Talks about the fact that you should have a purpose for your training. You should follow the order of training. You should really concentrate on the basics, the principles. You should repeat them all loads. You should balance your training. And I can't remember what level is. Anyone remember what level is? No, it just says level. Will come back to me. Level up. Skill up is what Sensei Mizne used to say. Skill up, people. And my favorite one, which is the last one, which is never give up. This idea that you should never give up at Kempo, which fascinates me. And in that, there's order, basics, principle. And I often think that this is a little bit like fake news, right? You'll learn something in one place, and then you'll learn a little bit of another information from another place. If you look at, I don't know, geopolitics, and you read what's on the South China Morning Post of like trade wars with America, and then you read what's going on in the New York Times, and they're like ignoring China completely and talking about, I don't know, elections or something. It gives you this real sense that there's completely two different narratives on the other side of the world. But when the narratives fold in and you're listening, say, to the BBC News in the United Kingdom, that's our military has been captured in some random place and we will fight for them back and they are amazing people. And then you listen to the World Service, and the World Service, the same BBC, is saying, we will be negotiating peacefully for the return of our people. You get this real sense of how news conflicts with each other. And that to me is exactly what happens in Kempo. And you can see it all the time in Kempo. You get these forms that are taught, and they all come from one person 60 years ago. And they go out, hiya. They go out to different places, and then they end up in us from different sources. And our job as practitioners is to grab what works and what makes sense at the time and put it back together again and make and figure out what the truth of that principle or that technique is. And now I'm super distracted, so I'm going to close the class. Renchu Owarimas.
Right. No.
And the next one on the list is live half for yourself and half for others, which fits quite well for me at the moment because I just came back from holiday. And that is a perfect example of how I went, or both me and a friend went, actually, I just need time. I need time to just take care of myself, and I need time to not have any other responsibilities, to run away from my responsibilities for a bit, just sort of enjoy nature and just be for a little bit, and then come back to reality. Because the idea that you live half for yourself and half for others isn't a 50-50 split where you spend exactly 50% of a day for others and then 50% for you. Instead, it's however much you need to take care of yourself so that you can then take care of others. And in sometimes you'll be well, you'll be healthy, you'll be well, you have a good routine, which means all this work you've put in, you actually only need to put, maybe you only need to put 20% into your own well-being to be well enough, because that's the place you're in now. And then you can spend that, you can put that remaining energy you have onto helping others. But equally, there's times when 100% of that energy has to go to caring for yourself, because if you're not healthy and if you're not well, what good are you to anyone else?